What's going on, YouTube? One of the big stories of today is that one of the officers involved in the Freddie Gray death, Officer Edward Nero, was found not guilty on all counts that he was charged with. We're going to go to a little 30-second clip on CNN saying that, he's not guilty on all the charges that he was charged with, and then we'll be right back to discuss the Freddie Gray case, the investigation, his death, and now this officer being found not guilty on all the charges he was charged with. Okay, so we'll go to the 30-second clip, and then we'll be right back.
Edward Nero found not guilty on all charges. The judge saying that on the charge of assault, that he wasn't even there for the arrest. He did not put the cuffs on Mr. Gray. He did not arrest Mr. Gray. Therefore, there is no assault. In the misconduct charge in office that he was charged with in connection with that arrest, he said if he didn't arrest him, then there's no misconduct in office. That also not guilty. On the reckless endangerment, Mr. Nero was one of those individuals that the prosecution said failed to put a seatbelt on Mr. Gray or raise the fact that Mr. Gray had not been seatbelted. He said that the state just did not prove its case.
Alright, so we're back from the short clip on CNN saying Officer Edward Nero has been found not guilty on all charges he was charged with involving Freddie Gray and his death while in police custody. So if you guys need a refresher, or you guys don't remember, or maybe you guys didn't even watch it on the news, Freddie Gray was died. Well, he suffered injuries in police custody that he later died from last year in May. A little over a year ago now, I think. He was in police custody, and investigation found that he suffered severe injuries to his spinal cord, and as a result, he died later on in the hospital. So this officer, Edward Nero, now found not guilty on all charges involving Mr. Gray's death. Now, just to put it in perspective, Freddie Gray was arrested for allegedly possession of an illegal switchblade, so a knife of some kind, I guess, was in his possession, and that's why he was arrested, and later on lost his life. So just to put it in perspective, I mean, this guy didn't need to die. It's pretty sad that he did die over, carrying allegedly a legal knife around. And I just want to put that out there before we go any deeper. Freddie Gray shouldn't have lost his life for the crime that he allegedly committed. But moving forward, this is just one officer in the Freddie Gray investigation. There's a lot more, I guess, to go. I think there's 5 other officers that have yet to have verdicts. 5 other officers that have been charged that verdicts have not come down yet. So there's still time for some justice to come from Freddie Gray's death. And I'm not going to get into the big argument of whether all police officers are bad or good. Look, there's gray area here. There's some good, there's some bad, just like everywhere else. I know you guys have probably heard that a million times on cable news, but I mean, that is true. I'm sure there's really good cops and there's really shitty cops. So it kind of just depends on your luck which cops you get that show up to come see you, or someone calls 911 or whatever. It's the luck of the draw on what cops you get and if they're good or bad. But I think a legitimate argument could be made here that at least some of these cops got to be pretty bad apples. I mean, they didn't buckle him in when they transported him to the jail, and as a result of this, he suffered multiple injuries. Some people tried to argue that maybe it was self-sustaining injuries, maybe he was trying to hurt himself, and that's, because of those injuries, he later on died. I don't know, that seems like a pretty weak argument that he was able to injure himself in that way that he would later die. And even if that is the case, it's the police officer's job to make sure that inmates aren't able to do that, or people that they're transporting aren't able to do that. When you get arrested, they handcuff you and, they put you in the car or whatever, but if you're trying to injure yourself, it's their job to make sure you can't. Just like when you're in jail and someone tries to commit suicide, You know, they put them in isolation, or they put them in a padded room where they're not able to do harm to themselves. So, you know, it's the police's job to make sure that the person in transport doesn't injure themselves. But I don't even think that's true. I think to some extent it's got to be true that he went for a quote-unquote rough ride, is the terminology that has been used over and over and over again. And, you know, if that's true, some justice got to be done. I know that the Gray family got a small settlement, but there needs to be a little bit more than that. Somebody has to serve some time for this guy dying, you know, over carrying an illegal knife. It's ridiculous, and it happens a lot, and only sometimes it gets reported, but, you know, it happens a lot more than the few news stories we get a year. And some of, you know, not everything in the news is true. Not every person killed by police is unjust. You know, there are psychos out there that, you know, are running around with guns or what have you, are threatening police or threatening civilians, and, you know, the police do their job, and, you know, the people that are threatening other people or endangering other people or the police die. And, you know, that's their job, to protect themselves and to protect the community. But when someone dies for just, you know, allegedly carrying an illegal knife, and he wasn't apparently threatening anyone, you know, that's crazy. So let me know what you guys think about the Freddie Gray case and anything to do with that. If you guys want to talk about the aftermath and all the riots, which, you know, I totally disagree with, just because, you know, if someone's killed and they're killed unjustly, I don't see the advantage to tearing up your own neighborhood. If you guys remember when all the riots happened in Baltimore, they were tearing up their own neighborhood. You know, they set their own, I think it was their own CVS or Walgreens on fire. The people that lived in the same neighborhood as Freddie Gray, I don't think that's right. I don't think it, you know, maybe it's not a question of right or wrong, but I don't think it helps anything. I don't see how it makes any progress. You know, they were lighting stuff on fire. They were going nuts, and I don't know how it makes any progress. But anyways, let me know what you guys think about Freddie Gray's death. Do you guys think it was just or unjust? You guys can talk about the riots in the comments section down below. Let me know what you guys think about this first officer being found not guilty on all of the charges. Do you think this guy, you know, he shouldn't have been found guilty? Do you guys think he should have been found guilty? Do you guys think any of the other officers should be held accountable for any of this? Let me know what you guys think in the comments section down below. Drop a like if you guys like this video, and subscribe if you guys want to see future content on this YouTube channel.